Trying to.
Just
Hey,
big.
Greg. Hey, Carolina. Hey, Jill. Hey, Cynthia, Fran.
Morning.
Hello.
I think I still can't make it work.
Do you need it?
What I'm trying to do, I always like to follow on my iPad to pull up all the items, and for some reason my iPad is not.
I did both print and now I have it.
Yeah.
Is 5 the one? Is 5 what I need or 6?
5, I think.
5. I think that's right. Okay, cool.
We need 5 for a quorum. So we've got 1, 2. We have 5. 1, 2, 3. No, we have 4.
We have 5.
I have 5.
Oh, we have
Yeah,
5.
so
You're right.
we'll just give it another minute or two. I see Randy
6.
coming in. There's 6. It must be budget day. Hi, Randy.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Love that photo.
Yeah, it's
Oh.
cool.
My daughter, when we do the father-daughter dances, my daughter gets to dress me. 400-pound men should not wear white. I know that, but it was her choice.
You pull it off, sir.
No.
Yeah, it looks grand.
You ought to see the one before where she had me in an actual zoot suit with the full hat and everything.
All
You're a
right.
good dad.
Hey, Joan.
Hey,
Good to see
Jim.
you. All right, well, we have more than a quorum, so I don't see anyone logged in that doesn't have audio yet. So if everyone's okay, I'll go ahead and get started. Okay. Good morning and welcome to the Olympic Region Clean Air Agency meeting for June 9th. Welcome, everyone. We have a quorum of the board, so let's go ahead and do introductions. I'll just call through the board members on my screen and then ask Fran to walk us through staff. So Cynthia?
Cynthia Pratt, City of Lacey, Vice Chair.
Greg?
Greg Brotherton, Jefferson County.
Joan?
Joan Cathy, City of Tumwater.
Jill?
Jill Warney, Grace Harbor County Commissioner.
Carolina?
Carolina Mejia, Thurston County.
And Randy?
He's out dancing.
We can't hear you now, Randy. Okay, we'll keep going while he fixes his tech. I'm guessing he can hear us still. Fran, can you walk us through the staff team?
Sure. In the room, we've got Debbie Moody, Office Manager, and Mark Gooden.
Morning.
Robert Moody's. And I don't see Lynn. Lynn's here. Lynn, are you on upstairs? Okay, Lynn is here, but she's upstairs. And today Odell and Dan are elsewhere. So I'm filling in for them, for the two of them. We've got
Okay.
Mike Throgmorton just came on.
Good morning.
Is Jeff? I don't see Jeff.
Okay,
No, I think it's just me.
What's that?
great.
We're missing.
Okay.
we're missing-
Welcome, everyone. Randy, are you fixed? Okay, we'll keep going. Is everyone okay with the agenda as presented? Okay, no dissent. We have an agenda. Okay, great. So for the chair's report, I think there's just one item, which is to check in with the board. So we have a requirement of having 10 board meetings per year, and we typically miss 2, one in the summer and one in the winter. And looking at the schedule, staff is recommending that we take off August and December this year. And so I wanted to check in and see if that sounds right to the board, and then we can notice those cancellations in our public meeting requirements. So any questions or comments?
So does it have to be August? What about July? I just want to propose that as a potential, or is that cause too much problems with documents and staff needs?
Fran, you came up with that recommendation, so what do you think?
Thank you. I have a reason, I don't really want to bring it up at this meeting, but we could, I mean, we don't have to do August. It would be better to do August.
So that we're well staffed.
We could do July if that's a problem for the board.
Oh, okay, okay.
I like August.
Okay,
Yeah,
My
didn't we-
daughter and family are coming, but
I'm
I'll
leaning with
work
Cynthia
around
on
it.
July.
so I have two asking for July instead of August. I think it's about making sure that we have adequate staffing to have a board meeting.
I'll go with whatever. I'll just make it work.
Carolina, are you okay with that?
Yeah, I'll make it work too.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds like we're okay. And if you can adjust our calendars so that we are tracking, that would be wonderful.
So which months did we decide on?
August and December. Cynthia, are there any chair reports from finance?
Not right now, no.
Okay, and thank you for running the meeting in my absence last month.
That was fine. My only thing is, for some reason, I tend to lose Wi-Fi on my desktop and iPad, so, but we make it work.
Cool. Okay. Fran, anything else we need to say under chair report?
No,
Okay, great. So then that takes us to public comment. I don't think there's anyone signed up. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Nick, is there anyone signed up?
Okay,
Sound like it.
great. So that will take us to the consent agenda. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second,
Are there any questions, comments, or polls? All in favor, say aye.
I,
Aye.
aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Great. Before I move on, I just want to welcome Frank Wolf. Thanks for joining us.
quick point of order. We did ask to put in the budget a increase for the executive director.
Yes, and okay, great. Yeah, and that's in the proposal that we have to look
Thanks,
at.
Mark.
Okay,
Yes,
great.
Right, there are you'll see two 2022 fiscal year budget columns, one with and one without.
right.
You want to say hi, Frank?
Hi, sorry about that. I upgraded my Zoom thing and it took a little longer to get cranked up than normal.
Right on. Thanks for being here.
And Lynn has joined us from the ORCAA staff.
Okay, welcome, Lynn. And then so the new business item is around debt service for our office building. So am I going to Fran or Lynn?
I'll let Lynn take the lead on it,
Okay,
and I'll answer any questions or back up. So Lynn, you want to talk about that?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay. I'm just not sure. Yeah, sorry. Excuse a little head cold going on. So I have a new voice for you today. Good morning, everyone. Nice to see y'all. So the board agenda item is a action item. And what we're looking for is approval from the board today. A little background. Excuse me. During the fiscal year 2021 budget process, the board added a requirement that staff seek prior approval if expenditures exceed 10% in any of the 4 expense subcategories. That would be salaries and benefits, 1, non-payroll, 2, or building and operations, 3, and then our operational cost having to do with our wood smoke reduction and our monitoring sites. The building operations maintenance line was approved at $107,700 in the fiscal year 2021 budget. we're projected to reach $119,141 by year end in a couple of weeks, which is more than the allowed 10% that the board approved. In this case, 118,470. ORCAA has budget authority for what we're about to ask you for. We're asking the board to approve staff exceeding the 10% threshold, ORCAA's debt service schedule, and as a result, why? Because ORCAA's debt service schedule changed when Thurston County refinanced the bond that ORCAA is part of in May of 2021. The financing included an early payment that ORCAA had to pay of $45,381 of principal and interest 7 months earlier than we had intended. So it wasn't in the current year budget. ORCAA was originally scheduled to make an interest payment on June 1st of $1,321. The good news though, when Thurston County refinanced the bond, it's going to save us around $2,300 during the remaining life of the loan, which is about a year and a half. And also the interest rate, it's just amazing. Currently, we are at 2.49% interest rate. The county, excuse me, the county was very successful in negotiating a new interest rate of 0.703%. It's just wild. I mean, y'all know what the market's doing out there, right? The housing and refinancing. So staff is recommending that approval to exceed the 10% threshold in the building and maintenance subcategory by $671 for the fiscal year 2021 budget. The request is not increasing the bottom line of our agency budget because we had savings in our other lines that are able to make this early principal and interest payment. I've attached page number 2, which reflects just the expenditure section of our budget. Column 1 obviously is the approved budget that the board approved, 2.5 million. I'm reflecting what we have actually spent 11 months into the fiscal year, what we anticipate in June, and where we will be at year end. As you can see at the very bottom right-hand corner, we have grand total of expenditures with the with the P&I payment that was not originally included of $2,452,875. We still have a savings of $110,000 in our budget, even with the $45,000 debt service payment. What we're requesting is approval by the board to exceed the 10% threshold in the building maintenance subcategory by $671 in the fiscal year 2021 budget as presented. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. And I just have 2 additional items. So I did talk to the county treasurer about this because we are friends, and he wanted to let the ORCAA board and staff know that they apologize for the miscommunication. And that was the same message that our staff received from the treasurer's staff. It sounds like the county systems for refinancing the bond either may or may not have had the leadership look at the all of the sub line items that were contained in that bond to make sure that everyone was communicated with. So they're looking at their systems. And then Jeff Gadman, the county treasurer, also offered, and I think this would be really cool, to have him and his investment advisor, Nicole, come and talk to us about how they invest our dollars as our bank. It's really a unique relationship, and actually we do really well because of the way they manage that pool and pool our funds with other jurisdictions across the county. So if the board is open to that after we get done with this action, I can work with Fran on getting that scheduled for a time that works for everyone. It'll be a 20-minute here's how our money is managed, just like when you have your investment advisor come and talk to you about your city or your county's financial management. So Fran, anything else to add to that before I open it up to the board for discussion and action?
No, just, it'll be a motion before the board, and, Lynn did a great job clarifying it. So we still have so this next year, instead, since the 45,000 was paid now, we have 2 interest payments. And again, with the reduction in our interest rate, and the interest payments are like $300 total between the 2 of them. So the last P&I payment will pay off the building again in 2022 fiscal year 2023, the year 2022.
Yeah.
So we're right almost at the end, and we'll own the building in total December 2022.
Yeah, 1 more payment. That's super cool. And I did ask, could we have unbundled our loan and paid it off? And because of the way it was packaged in the old bond, it had to stay packaged that way in the refinance. So that is one piece of clarity I did receive. So I think there's a good, anytime you finance something that's going to be in a bond, think about early payoff as part of the contract.
The other thing that I looked at was,
Mr. Chair?
the other thing that I looked at was, by leaving the money, the 45,000 or 43,000 still invested, we are actually making more money because again, interest rates are low, but we're making more money by having it invested. And we still have to pay off, if we paid it off early, we still have to pay the 250, it's like $300 total interest payment, but we're making more than that by having it invested. So great to invest, it's better than paying it off.
Go ahead, Randy.
So, Mr. Chair, we've avoided a lot of those things by staying away now from bonds. I've been able to convince the county to move towards the bank loans since they've been so much more available. I just want to also verify, did they say that the Thurston County was able to get a loan at .something%?
Yeah,
0.73
0.70.
or 0.703, yeah. And that's about the same rate that the short-term money we have invested at the state is returning.
Yeah, I wonder if they did it on the short term. Does anybody know? Because that's very, very material information for everything we do.
Yeah, actually, the Thurston County issued a couple bonds at the same time. We were included in one of, I think, 5 bonds that were reissued. Bonds are recalled, new bonds were issued. So we were included in one of those 5 bonds. Other bonds that were charged to the county were 1.55, 1.52. They really got some excellent rates on recalling the bonds and reissuing. So kudos to Thurston County. Thank you, Carolina.
Yeah.
Yeah, so part of this was part of an effort to really try to refinance all of Thurston County loans. I was made aware a couple of days that ORCAA was included in that, and so I was a little bit surprised because it was not presented. So that this was one of the things that I wasn't aware of, that ORCAA's bond would be included in this. But in the long run, Thurston County did end up saving a lot of money on refinancing, and so it's pretty exciting.
Well,
Cool.
congratulations.
Are there any questions or comments? So then I would be open for a motion to approve exceeding the 10% threshold in the building maintenance subcategory by $671 in fiscal year 2021 budget as presented.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
A second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Okay. We have a budget amendment. Thank you, Lynn.
Jim, can I just add, I just want to say, Carolina, it's wonderful working with Thurston County Treasurer staff. I work with, Thurston County auditors, financial services, a number of your departments. So they're all great to work with. And so thank you for that.
Thank
And
you. I'll
Lynn-
pass the message along.
And Lynn, I heard that from the treasurer about you and Fran as well. So kudos back to you.
Thank you.
Great. Okay, that will take us to the budget public hearing on the fiscal year 2020 budget. So Lynn, do you want to tee this up?
Great. So before you, you have a fiscal year 2022 budget with two options. And they were briefly described at our last board meeting. Option number one, I'm not sure what tab it is. I apologize. So hopefully you're all there at the fiscal year budget that we're going to be approving today.
It's B4.
Thank you, Jim. So we have a budget of $2,695,129 as option number one. And for option number two, $2,721,210. The difference between the two, actually option number one includes a 1.4% salary increase for staff, and the same percentage is applied to all of the fees. The fee schedule also is attached. Option two includes all of the above plus an increase to the executive director's salary by $24,000 per year. That's the difference. Excuse me. So what we're requesting is approval of the fiscal year 2022 budget using option one or option two. Excuse me.
Okay.
I move that we approve option two of the budget.
Not open the public hearing yet.
I have to have a public hearing first,
I'm
Cynthia.
sorry, I forgot the public hearing.
You know, but that won't be very long. Before I do that, can you tell us if there's a recommendation from the finance committee about the options?
Yes, the finance committee proposed that we increase the executive director's budget salary by, what was it, 2,400? And so so option two.
Okay. And that was based on doing salary reviews of friends, peers in clean air agencies.
Yes, actually, this is probably bringing her up to the lowest level of the other agencies, but at least there isn't a gap.
Okay. And partially also about keeping her a little bit ahead of her directors.
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, so any other comments from staff before I open up the public hearing and then we can have a discussion? Okay. So I'm going to open up the public hearing for the fiscal year 2022 Olympic Region Clean Air Agency budget. Is there anyone signed up to speak? Okay, I don't believe we have any public on our meeting, so we'll go ahead and close the public hearing and open up the conversation for discussion from the board. We have a budget with two options in front of us, with the second option being recommended by the finance committee, which is for the reasons that were stated prior to the public hearing. So what do folk think?
I would like to make a motion that we approve option two to make sure that we retain our executive director, because the farther behind we are, if Fran leaves, it will be very hard to fill that position.
I'll second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion or clarifications needed? Is there any further discussion? Okay, well, it's really good work by the finance committee, and I think that's why we're moving it through. So thank you to Cynthia for leading that several meetings to tighten this up and look at and fully understand the depth and impact of it. So a hard budget year to write budgets for everyone. So all in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We have a budget, you know, like with 3 weeks to spare. So good job, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. I appreciate that. I appreciate your support in the salary increase, and I appreciate the support for this budget. So thank you very much. We're all set for July.
Cool. And then I'll just say that this coming fiscal year is the year to do Fran's performance review as well. So be thinking about whether you want to volunteer to be on an ad hoc personnel committee to do that work, probably after the mid-year point. So. Okay, great. So that will take us to the compliance program update from Robert.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for a budget. It always makes life easy around here. The compliance tab is B5. You'll see the usual inspections and permits that we've been working with in the last month or so. As you're glancing through that, I'll point you to page 13 of that. It's the last page of it at some point here, but keep that in mind here for a moment. As we mentioned last month, we do have a vacancy for an air quality specialist 1 position, entry level. And we have, we're doing interviews tomorrow, and hopefully, you know, we will find a filler for that position. More to come on that one. On a week ago, June 2nd, we did have an appeal before the Pollution Control Hearings Board. Mr. Throgmorton represented ORCAA's interests and did a very fine job as always. So this is in reference to the photo that's on page 13 in your packet. So the person was burning a barn, and we heard about it because 911 called ORCAA that there's something bad going on. And so we responded. And one of the pictures we took while we were on site there was that burn. Not pretty. We did issue a notice of violation and a civil penalty of $11,785. That included a base penalty and then what we refer to as an economic benefit, meaning money that he saved by burning rather than hauling it to the dump in this case. I think the hearing went smoothly, and they have the judge has 90 days to get us a result of his findings and ruling on the final matter here. So that is my report for you this morning. If you have questions, oh, there's one.
I'm sorry, you know, neither in my the iPad package or what I printed out, there isn't a page 13.
Let me
There is on
try.
mine.
But it's okay. I mean, you explained it, so it's okay, but.
I
Well,
think you should
Cynthia-
now be seeing the picture.
There you go. Well, I'll make it accessible for viewers later. An excavator in the middle of a burn pile that's full of construction and demolition debris and metal, making the wrong kind of smoke.
So
Good.
that is the reality of some of the things we see in the field. And this one's actually been going on for quite some time. It takes, with COVID and everything else, it took hearings board a very long time to get it scheduled. So
Right.
that's what it is. So
put that into perspective, ladies and gentlemen, what you're looking at there are 2 separate piles. The larger of the 2 was the only one that we penalized them for. And that pile was calculated to be approximately 15 tons.
Oh,
Hence the size of the dump.
And Mike Throgmorton, our attorney, had gone and presented a summary judgment on the issue of the burning piece of it to the Pollution Control Hearings Board. So the only issue before the board was the amount of the fine. So they clearly agreed with the determination this was an egregious violation. But what we're still waiting to find out is whether they agree with our dollar amount. We had one of our engineers, Aaron Manley, actually do the calculation on what how to calculate based on the amount of debris and the dump fees. So we presented that also. So Aaron did testify before the PCHB on that also.
By the way, I apologize. If you rolled down, it didn't come up. You know how things are slow. So I didn't wait long enough. So it is there. Never mind.
Okay, any other questions or comments on that? Good staff work, thank you. Okay, so we'll go to engineering with Mark.
DC, Mark?
Good morning. And I believe it's tab, is it tab 6? Yeah.
6, yes.
Tab 6, which summarizes the industrial and commercial air permits that are before us. And there's quite a few on the list. I have to say that the pace of permits for commercial and industrial sources has been increasing over the last couple of months. During the past 12 months, it's been wood products. There was quite a few wood products permits, associated permits that were before us. Now it seems like other industries are also increasing the pace here. So I'd just like to point out a few of these, and if you have any questions about the ones in your cities or counties, please let me know, and I got plenty of details. So starting on page 1, Inner Port Angeles. This is a lumber mill, and the significant thing about Inner Port Angeles is that they increased their capacity to produce kiln-dried lumber, and they're now going to be another major source. Okay, so we differentiate minor sources and major sources. Major sources emit over 100 tons per year of any criteria pollutant and are subject to the Title V Air Operating Permit program. So Inner Port Angeles has been at the cusp of being a major source, and they recently got approval to increase their lumber drying capacity, and so now they'll be a major source. So we're going to add one more to our list of major sources. On the same page, page 1, Sierra Pacific Industries in Aberdeen. Their air operating permit got renewed for another 5 years. And then on page 2, you'll see Crown Cork and Steel shows up twice on this list. And I'm just pointing this one out because they're located right here in Olympia. They are also increasing their capacity to manufacture aluminum beverage cans. And it's quite a visible undertaking. If you were to drive to the Home Depot off of Phones Road, you'll see their construction activities. What they're proposing is a new can line, and to enable that, they're installing what's called a regenerative thermal oxidizer. And what that does is essentially takes the emissions from the can coating lines, all of them, including the new one, and it incinerates the volatile organics. Okay, so this is a big deal. They're already a major source of emissions, so they're already subject to the Title V program. And on page 3, I'd just like to mention Silver Springs Organics. There's been some interest from board members on Silver Springs Organics. They're a large composting facility in Thurston County, and they've been on the list for close to a year. And part of the reason is that we, in our working with them and getting through the permit application, we convinced them that they needed to go back to the drawing board and come up with more air pollution controls for odors. Over the last year, they've been experimenting with different ways they could conduct composting with more aeration to reduce odors, and so that's why they're still on the list, is because they've taken the last year to do testing of their operations to improve their odor control, and they just the new news about them is they just got back to me and said that they completed testing and it looks positive that they're able to increase aeration. And so I think that this will enable them to get through the air permitting process. And they will, by doing so, they'll also increase their capacity. So those are the few that I'd like to point, that I wanted to point out. And if you have questions, I've got plenty of details. So let me know either now or after the meeting.
Thanks, Mark. Questions for Mark? Okay. Good activity. So I guess we probably should have asked this question during the budget, because I was thinking about it last night at City Council, but as just keep us in touch as we monitor growing workload as a result of coming out of the pandemic, and let us know if there's staffing implications to be able to keep up, because we want to make sure we keep the economy moving and don't hinder it.
Interestingly enough, I think, because of the housing industry and so many of the sources that we manage are connected in some way with the building industry, we've just seen a huge influx of work this year. It'll be interesting to look at next fiscal year to see, they're now talking about, potentially, real estate not going quite as quickly, that this is a hot time because people are moving and so people are still bidding for homes, etc. But our building industry and even Crown Court that does cans, people buy cans because they're at home, they may be drinking more soda or whatever at home. That we'll see whether they've made the infrastructure improvements. The question is, will things level off this next year? How will it go in relation to the industry? So I think, I didn't have a crystal ball for this year. I'm very pleased, and staff they've done an amazing job, an absolutely amazing job, all of our staff. Whether it's compliance or engineering or the staff here in the office, they've just been amazing and helping the community, even though they have to do things so much more online. And staff willing to go out and, and be careful, wearing the right PPE, et cetera, to be able to inspect and see what's going on. But it'll be interesting to see what happens in the coming year as we hopefully move out of the pandemic and get back into more normal lives. And the question will be, what happens with interest rates? What will happen with the housing industry, et cetera? So,
well, the interest rate's the key. We at City Council Finance Committee, we saw a graph of the housing growth over 50 years with the interest rate, and the lines are farther apart than they've ever been. And the Fed isn't planning to raise it until 2023 at the moment. And between that and inventory, I don't think it's going to change anytime soon. It's going to be hot for a while.
Interesting to watch.
Yeah. For sure. Any other comments? Okay, thank you, Mark.
Okay, so I'm going to do.
You're doing Odell? Okay.
I'm going to do air quality and education. So let me share the screen. If I can do that. Oh, it didn't work. So what do I do? Oh, go here.
Pick the screen on share. There you
This
go.
one.
Yep.
Now what happens?
Hit share over on
Oh, there we go. All right. So this is Odell's presentation. Odell, right? Actually, Dan and Odell are both doing other things today. So Odell is actually ends the end of the month, but she's basically the chair for Northwest AirQuest. Northwest AirQuest is an organization that we all support, all the local air agencies, EPA, et cetera, and they do incredible work with the University of Washington and Central Washington on air quality issues. So she's actually chairing a meeting. It's actually 3 days, so that's why she's not here. So this is her monitoring report, and luckily, the month of May was very good. As you can see, everybody was fine except for Lacey, and if you can see on the bottom, we had there was debris that got into the sampler chamber, and slowly it needed maintenance, and so we lost 4 days. But for everybody else, we have full months for May, which is terrific. Ozone, and I was interested to know, because we've had some heat, and you can see that you know, we didn't exceed the 70 ppb, that it's the, you know, the maximum, but we were getting up there a little bit. And interesting, the other part that's interesting for ozone, historically, we have the ozone monitor in Lacey. There's always been one in Yelm, and the Yelm site's going to be down, I think, for 3 years because of construction. So we are making sure that we keep our Lacey site up and running. Odell obviously is watching Lacey when we have these periods of heat, but so far we've been able to stay below the 70 ppb. And the other site that we watch is Chica Peak, because because of its elevation, it gets background data, and we also monitor there at Chica Peak for ozone as well as many other things. So this is ozone for May, and again, we were okay, but you can see when there was hot weather that it did increase. So we will be a major site during the next 3 years. And then Odell has been able to go and manage things at Chica Peak. We've got some pretty significant equipment issues. So we're going to be spending some money to upgrade, hopefully. And Port Townsend QC, it's between she and Nick, they've been able to get out to all of our sites and do the QCs and also check like the Lacey on-site CO checks. And as she says, she's organizing the Northwest Aircraft annual meeting. So she's sorry that she's missing this month. And we're also now preparing, so we are actually involved in the ETO study. So we're gathering data and Raymond as a background site. One of the Tacoma sites, and I'm not sure which site it is. I'm hoping it's one that's close to the port of Tacoma, but I'm not sure. And our Lacey site. And so we're gathering data and we're moving it around. And actually it's happened over the last couple of weeks, this week and last week, I think part of next week, to gather data for EPO. And EPA is very interested in the information that we get on ETO. So we'll see where that goes.
Excuse me, Fran, could you, I'm sorry, I probably know what ETO means, but I'm blank right now.
It's ethylene oxide. And
okay.
ethylene oxide was used, and luckily they're not using as much anymore. It was used in sterilizers in hospitals and vet clinics and places like dental offices. So some places are using other sterilizing methods. It's also used in certain industries. And the reason we came up on the monitor for ETO was when we were doing our community-based study, when we were looking for other things in Lacey, we were gathering data and information, and at the same time we sent the data to a site that was run by EPA to look at the data, and ETO came out, but it was very low amounts. But since it sort of popped up on the radar, we then became a site to look at. But as I say, many areas that were using ethylene oxide as part of for sterilizing are not doing that anymore because it is a toxic. And it is a toxic that EPA is concerned about. Sorry, you're right. I needed to say what that meant. Sorry.
It's okay.
Are there other questions?
Just a quick one from me, Fran. Do you know if any other air agencies in the country are helping with monitoring carbon emissions and calculating carbon emissions around climate planning?
I don't know that answer. I don't
Okay,
know.
it just came up at Olympia. We're meeting with our Dr. Pamela Braff, our new client scientist, who came to us from NOAA, and it came up that it might be kind of cool for her to sit down with ORCAA and just talk and see if there's any partnership possibilities in monitoring that plan.
I think that would be fabulous. It would be
Cool.
terrific.
Cool.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, yes, if you can have her give me a call, we'd love to get together with her. That would be terrific. Thank you.
Okay. Great. Thank you. Okay, and you're doing communications and outreach as well?
I am. Okay, so let me.
Or education, sorry.
Okay, so we're here, stop. Okay. Okay, so for Dan, so as you know, we're getting into wildfire season, sadly. So right now, Dan is in a meeting today with Thurston County folks, public health, a variety of different entities to talk about preparation for the wildfire season. So it's important that he be there. We're concerned that 2021, the summer is going to be, a bad season. It's already started in parts of the country, and when it was really warm in Eastern Washington, we had wildfires over there, and DNR has been good about putting out information, talking about, not burning on lands that are managed or owned by the state, that the DNR has control over. So we are concerned. DNR also, and this happened when I was with DNR, and they're doing it again, and I'm very pleased about that. So this past year, and again, with people being home with the pandemic, they've been working with people to look at what kind of vegetation is in their backyards to be, as a safety mechanism, so that if there's a wildfire, that it protects your home and doesn't help burn your home. So DNR did that many, many years ago, and they're doing it again. And I think that's just really smart to look at what kind of vegetation surrounds your house, so that if there's a fire, you don't create a situation that causes more fire damage to your home or your property. So as I say, we anticipate, Dan agrees, that we anticipate an active wildfire season, which I'm sorry about. Our smoke reduction grant. So we're on pace. As I think we mentioned to you, that we got an additional $10,000, and we're on pace to spend it all. In the next legislative session, the governor had asked for 4 million, and we ended up getting 3. Last biennium, we got 2 million. We meaning everybody, the state ecology, as well as the local air agencies. One of the caveats that goes with that is that we should look at, when we there are 2 issues. I mean, you want to get rid of wood stoves because the particulate matter, the PM 2.5. There are concerns with natural gas because of methane. And so as we look at, the change outs, we're again, heavily supporting ductless and ducted heat pump. And in our program, we give more money for that. But we don't have to take gas off the screen totally, but we have to sort of look at that. On the peninsula, it's not an issue because there isn't gas. And so we do allow pellet stoves to be as a replacement. But that is an issue that we're obviously managing and monitoring, and we'll be looking at that as we develop the proposal. We hope to have the money sometime in July. We've done extremely well. Dave Grant, who runs the program for ecology, is doing a superb job. And he says our program is well run. Dan does a fabulous job. The other air agency that is probably going to get a good chunk of money is Yakima. And because of EJ, environmental justice, Yakima is an area that has significant EJ issues, and they have major dust issues. So Yakima will get a single county air agency. They will get a significant amount of money. I explained to Dave, and he knows this, that in terms of EJ, the peninsula, which has been hit hard for many, many years economically, also we feel is an area that has EJ issues. So he recognizes that when we're developing our proposal, we'll obviously mention that. And so that's another area where hopefully it'll help us get additional funds. The other thing that is kind of exciting, this past winter, we had a meeting with all the air agencies about the grant program. One of the ideas that came up was the ability to have a statewide recycle program for wood stoves. Now, right now, our program is only available to Thurston County, parts of Clallam, and Mason, parts of Mason. But this would include all of our 6 counties, and it'd be a statewide program. There'll be a pot of money that's available for that, because we don't want to see wood stoves on Craigslist. We don't want them, we don't want them sold. So the idea would be that we would have a recycle program, and we work with the recyclers. Many years ago, we had a recycle program for gas-powered mowers and trimmers and things, and we had we were out in Thurston County at the park, and we had a big dumpster there. And so people would bring their gas powered things, and then they could purchase battery operated mowers, etc. We can't quite do that with the wood stoves because they're pretty large, but I think we'll be able to work out a relationship with recyclers, because they get money from the metal, to be able to do something about how the people would get their stove that they're going to recycle to the recycler. So we have to work out those agreements. We offer $500 right now to recycle a wood stove. That's part of our program. We offer more than the other local airs that have that program. And our rationale for giving $500 is, if somebody looks at $500 and what they can get on Craigslist, they probably can't get $500. And so, but they might get $300, which is I think what Puget Sound Clean Air offers. So we want to make it so that people are willing to participate in our program and get some cash and get rid of that old wood stove. So that's another piece that we're pretty excited that Ecology is now saying that they'll go along with our idea and include that in this next biennial budget. Cynthia?
So the 500 would go for helping people recycle, move it to the recycler? Is that what you're saying?
So they would get, if somebody has an old wood stove that doesn't meet, the criteria, that they would, if they take it to, or the recycle, we have to figure out the relationship, whether they take it to the recycler or the recycler picks it up, they would get, the person who had that wood stove would get $500. And then the recycler, when they recycle the metal, they get
Right.
money from that. And so we're hoping that that the money they receive from the recycling of the metal will cover their cost, maybe going and picking up the stove, because it's often hard for folks to be able to transport a big, wood stove.
Exactly. Okay, that makes sense.
Let's see what else. Let's see. So, okay, so as I say, we fully expended our grant, and we actually got 2 additional dollar amounts during this biennium that we've expended both. Dan's been working on public records updates on our website. He was saying that monthly updates of asbestos notifications now included rather than being semi-annual, it's monthly. In 2020, notice of violations are now posted. We only post them when they're finalized or resolved, so not when they're in process. But once everything is resolved, they are posted on our website. And notice of construction and air operating permit files are updated and posted. So he's really keeping up on that. For outdoor burning permits and education programs, obviously we've got in Thurston County as of, I think outdoor burning ends on through July 14th. And in our other counties, it depends upon the fire marshal. But again, as last year, things were pretty dry, and the fire marshals, many of them stopped outdoor burning, I think by July 1st. So Thurston County is the only county where it's in our rules in terms of what the dates are for ending the burn season and beginning the burn season. And we continue to, share information. We've got, with the fire districts. Oh, the other thing that's very good is we met with the McCleary City Council on May 26th to talk about having a program like the program we have in Thurston County for online residential burn permits and land clearing permits. And they seem to really like it. So it would include Grays Harbor County Fire District 12. And we've also had an inquiry from Grays Harbor Fire District, I think 5, to also participate. So working with Nick, our IT guy, and with Dan, we'd be able to provide that kind of the same information that we now provide to Thurston County. When someone gets a permit, it goes on our map. We have information, so if there's a complaint, we can follow up with a phone call first, because we've got, we look to see, do they have a permit, first of all? Are they in an area where they can have a permit? And we can oftentimes call them quickly, so that information is really great and available. And we would have the same kind of information available for the fire districts that support McCleary, and also potentially if there's another fire district in Grays Harbor County. So as we had said to the board a while back, we really think our system works in Thurston County. We'd like to see it go beyond Thurston County. And so we're starting, and it's difficult because again, everything is virtual. We're starting slowly. And as I say, we're working with Grays Harbor County first, and we'll see how that moves. There may be some interest in Pacific County also. So we're just moving along with that. The city council was great. They were really, they asked lots of good questions. Their only real question was, is this going to cause them more work? And we said, no, it'll be no more work for them. So they're going to have another discussion in June and give us a final answer. And then if everything goes as we hope, we'll have a memorandum of understanding or a memorandum of agreement with McCleary and the fire district. And that we would hopefully start the program with them when the fire season starts in the fall. So that would be a great way. And in the meantime, we'll be educating the public. They've indicated that we can use, we can attach things to their newsletter that goes out of their billing. So McCleary will help us spread the word, which is also really critical. So that was a really good conversation, and that went really well. In addition, Dan is still getting information out to HOAs and community groups. So we're trying to get information out as readily as we can, even though communication is a little more difficult, but we're doing the best we can. So I think that was Dan's comments, but I'm happy to try to answer questions if I can.
Fran, can I make a suggestion?
Yep.
The cost, the recoupment of that metal cost for the person that's doing the scrapping won't come near paying them to go out and get it. But if you were to change that structure or consider changing that structure for 400 for the individual, 100 for the scrapping company, these scrapping companies and these people that are out there doing scrapping will sell the product for you.
Oh, that's a great idea, Randy. Thank you.
So
Fabulous. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, and I could connect you with Chad Sutter at Sutter Metal here in Thurston County and out in by Lacey, and they might be a huge partner for you.
Great. Okay, thank you.
Cutter Metals is actually one of the vendors we use under the wood smoke reduction program.
Right. It
Yeah,
is.
they're well used within our program.
Good. Okay.
Thanks.
Good suggestion, Randy.
Yeah, the program details are not developed yet, so your input is fabulous. It's wonderful. It's very timely. Thank you.
So I just wanted to point out that the city of Elma just annexed into Fire District 5. So if you partner with them, you'll get another city as well. So that's kind of cool. And then Fran, I wanted to ask maybe for a future board meeting, if there's a good expert or presentation or research to talk about environmental justice and as it applies to the Olympic Peninsula. I think the board would be really interested in hearing that information if you can round somebody up.
So give me a little bit more about what you're interested in.
Well, you just brought up the concept of environmental justice around our regulations and how we work. And I think it would be a really good place for us to ground ourselves just in all of our work as we both work here and work on the bigger climate crisis conversation in our other jobs.
Okay. So a better understanding of EJ and how it impacts.
Yeah, particularly kind of what the data overlays exist to tell that story in our region.
Okay. Okay, good. All right, thank you.
Okay, so do we have anything additional from Lynn?
Just a couple items. Thanks, Jim. Fran had emailed the Board of Commissioners at the end of May with a courtesy reminder that the State Auditor's Office have published the 3 reports that they recently audited ORCAA on, and that was the accountability, the financial, and the attestation. And so those are published and available on the SAO website that she included in the email for you. Just a courtesy reminder. Thank you for passing the fiscal year 2022 budget. And, just some items that, I'm working on, working up new annual renewal leases for a lot of our tenants. There's some maintenance items that will be going out for bid, as I indicated, the landscaping, having some work done on our front door, new road sign, etc. And we just wrapped up a great wellness challenge with staff, had 11 out of 15 employees participate, and it involved a physical challenge, so it was quite successful. I always like to report on our wellness because I report back to AWC. Cynthia, thank you again for your efforts with AWC and your work with them. And then last, as you know, everyone here in Washington will be affected by the long-term care coverage that was passed by the legislature in 2019. So I'll be attending a webinar next Monday to see how it's going to apply to our employees. As you're sure most of you are aware that the Washington Cares Fund, previously called the Long-Term Care, it's going to begin in January 2022, where employers must start collecting premiums from employees. And there are options for employees to opt out if they have meet certain requirements. So there's a lot going into this. There's deadlines that as an employer we cannot miss. So it'll be interesting to see how this comes into play. It's similar to the paid family medical leave program that was instituted a couple years ago and passed by the legislature. That is very active right now. That is administered by the Employment Security Department. So again, another new benefit for folks looking down the road for long-term care coverage. So we'll be continuing to, follow and watch how this plays out. Other than that, I have nothing. I appreciate all your participation and again, the approval today. Thank you.
Question.
Cynthia.
So will staff be taking the day off Juneteenth?
It's a Saturday.
Oh, is it Saturday? Oh, well, never mind then. But
But Robert will be answering calls.
I don't
but
think.
next year, it,
2022, I think.
yeah, you have to implement it next year. That's why I was wondering.
But is that the state mandated that other governments do it?
I don't know.
I don't think they did.
I
It's just
don't
a
know.
state
That's-
holiday.
I know that Lot discussed it. That's the only reason why I asked.
Good
There's a
question.
number of private sector businesses that are acknowledging it, and if it falls on a Saturday, they're taking the previous Friday off. I know that there's some businesses that have already instituted it for this year. So more, I mean, Washington State Employees Credit Union is one, so they're taking Friday and Saturday off. But as a public entity, I haven't heard anyone taking it off this year.
Well, the state made it a paid holiday effective July 1, so it's for next year.
Right.
And so maybe Lynn, when you do your benefit review for this coming calendar year, it would be good to look at that. I think from, because we're located in Olympia, having parity with state benefits would be a good thing to think about, and I know you already do. And then related to that too, I'd be interested in what the implications for the employees are around the long-term leave and whether that should also be included in the benefit package.
Yeah, I'll be.
If we're allowed to, I don't even know.
Yeah.
So.
Correct. I'll be updating the board and the finance committee as it progresses and as the laws change and the changes get incorporated. So yes, sir, will do. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you. Good. Thanks for bringing that up, Cynthia.
So we would follow whatever the state does in terms of the June 19th, again, it would be added in as a benefit. So we need board approval, I think, to do that. And I think based upon the long-term care, the assumption is that comes out of individuals' checks. That's not something that we would pick up, but we can certainly look at that.
Yeah. Well, I know quite a few companies are doing that with the paid family leave and just paying the employee portion. So it doesn't impact salary. And I don't know what we decide. I can't remember what we decided on that one. So.
We are paying we are paying, yes, but it's quite a bit less than this. This is a bigger, so we'd have to look at the dollar amount, what it amounts to, but we can certainly do that. And I'm sure Lynn will look into it.
Right. Yeah.
It's starting in January and it's not available for use till 2025.
Correct.
Oh, because they have a longer ramp up to get money in the fund. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Cool.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you, Lynn. Much appreciated. Okay, bring us home, Fran.
Okay, so again, this has been a really interesting year. Well, we started the whole thing started in March of last year. I have to say staff have done an incredible job. And staff have had to pick up and help others. Debbie, as an example, has helped, because we've got so many staff that are working remotely. She's done an incredible job helping staff be able to be remote by helping them out, compliance and engineering, getting information for them, making life easier for them in terms of getting things on the network. So she's done her own job, which was more than a full-time job, plus helping them out. So staff have really done 110% to help everybody be able to function in the best manner possible during this past year and some months. Right now, the other thing, okay, so that's been really critical, and again, it's been a very busy year, as you can see in the budget. Revenue's been good, and it means that folks are working hard, and I'm really proud of all ORCAA staff. They've just done a great job. I am developing two things. One, and I'll be bringing it to the board, hopefully both in July. One is a form for attestation. I'm not mandating that staff get vaccinated. I'm hope they do, but it's their choice. But the attestation form basically will indicate whether they've been vaccinated or not. And that'll be in a file locked in my file cabinet that only I will have access to. But that's something that, because you know, right now, for instance, Debbie and I are vaccinated and we can be in this room without a mask. But if we have folks that are not vaccinated, then we all wear masks. So it's just a safety precaution that we will take care of. We're also putting MERV 13 filters. We're getting bids on that. So we're putting MERV 13 filters in to also help with air quality, et cetera, in our building. The other thing that I'm doing is I'm developing a telework policy. My hope is this, that, and I've heard from some of the managers, that they will start coming back part-time potentially. And I have, for instance, one of my compliance staff is already back full-time. So staff, I'm hoping over the summer months, July to September, will start coming back at least part-time, working in the office. But I will be developing a telework policy that'll be managed by the managers for staff that when they need to do things that are, quiet and they need to not be disturbed, that they can work, that they can telework. We're purchasing some laptops because right now, staff are working. We didn't get any CARES money. We didn't get any help from anyone. So this all comes out of our own revenue. Right now, everybody has VPN from their home computers, and that's really not great. So what will happen is in September, that gets turned off, and we'll be using laptops that will be loaned out to staff for that kind of use. And so we're purchasing some, and we actually have some, or we have one, Odell has one, but we'll be purchasing some additional ones. The other thing that we're going to do, because as you well know, cybersecurity has been a major issue. So we're purchasing a cybersecurity online, basically education system for staff. Nick does a great job of giving us warnings when there have been attacks. And they will oftentimes go to a little agency like ours to get maybe to the state because they could see us as a way to get through to somebody else. So again, we're going to be also focusing on cybersecurity to make sure that whatever we do is safe and secure because we just don't want to have any problems. So we're doing a number of things as we sort of move into the fall. And my hope is that by September, that we'll have staff back at least part-time. But I think there will always be some telework, and that's fine. And that's why I wanted to develop a policy that I'll bring to you all, hopefully in July, to basically get your, hopefully, and I'll get it to you ahead of time, but I'd like you to, hoping you'll approve that kind of a process, telework process for staff. And I see Dan is now Dan's here. So I know, Dan, I gave you a report. I don't know if there's anything that you want to add other than what you gave me in the email the other day. Dan?
Yeah, I'm actually on my phone. I'm still participating in the Thurston County emergency and summer hazards program, but there's a slight break for technical difficulty. But yeah, the information I gave you is up to date. And from what I saw in this meeting I'm in this morning, I would just add that it looks like we're in for a pretty smoky summer, especially late summer. Most of the Western United States is well below normal precipitation levels and in drought situations. So the fire hazard is high for every place but the Puget Sound area.
Thanks, Dan.
Yeah. And so just finally, thank you for the salary increase. I really appreciate it and your vote of confidence. Again, Lynn does a great job on our budget. And as I say, we're successful because we have an organization that functions well together. We all work hard, and we wouldn't be where we were if we didn't have everybody doing what they need to do to get things accomplished. So thank you very much. Appreciate your support. That's my report.
Thank you. Great. Questions for Fran? Okay. So anything for the good of the order?
No.
Just one quick from me, Fran. So as you're talking about returning to work, does it make sense that we could test out a hybrid board meeting in September after our break, where we have remote opportunities for the public and the board, but some of us are in person?
That would be great. Again, if people are vaccinated, then we don't have to worry about social distancing. So I don't know how you want to handle that, but folks that we could do a hybrid model, that's not a problem. It'd be terrific to have folks back in the office.
Yeah,
back
yeah, I
here.
think that, the trend I'm seeing from other local governments is like, how do we preserve the remote option for the public and the board, particularly in the subcommittees, because now we have a better record with the recording and the ability to interact without having to travel. And to me, that would be a huge thing to make sure we have, and maybe even looking at our camera investment in the room so that we can see people's faces while they're talking rather than, the hallway thing like we see right now.
Right. What we are, so, the camera that we have here, we've actually ordered, I don't think we've got them yet. We've ordered cameras like that for every ORCAA employee, because again, as you say, virtual is part of the way we're living. And so that folks can do more virtual meetings from their desks. So not everybody has them. The only people that have them right now are those that are working here pretty much all the time. But we will have them. And I can talk to Nick about getting a better camera. And our thought too, I agree with you. And I was thinking that for the folks that are further away, like Frank or Bill Peach or, Greg, that you've got quite a drive, and that, you may want to stay virtual. We may have to look at because once it's no longer an emergency, we'll have to look at our board rules to allow that. Right now, I think the language, and I know Jeff looked at that, but if we do it on an ongoing basis, we may need to, change the board rules, but I'm fine with that. And yeah, that would be terrific to be able to have that flexibility for folks.
Frank?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that in my particular situation, I have an hour and a quarter to an hour and a half drive each way to work in South Bend every time I go in. And it used to be I would go into the office at least 4 days a week. I'm now down to twice a month for the 2 meetings that I actually don't have to show up for, but I feel I should, the official meetings. The rest of it's all been virtual. And that's cut my mileage and therefore my part of the pollution from the exhaust pipe dramatically. We also have opened up the Zoom platform for people who want to come and see our meetings. Because they're all public meetings, they have to be available for the public. But if you have to 6-foot distance them in our meeting room, you get about 3 people in there. So we're all already of the opinion that even after COVID is long in the back rear view mirror, we're going to still use Zoom for allowing the public in, because we've never had so many people come to our meetings, something we've always wanted to do for the same reason I have, it's commute distance and whatnot. So I would strongly say I'd much rather show up virtually than have to drive to Olympia and back, and it would fit in my schedule. I have another meeting I'm going to go to about 10 minutes after this one's over. Well, I wouldn't be able to do that if I was driving back from Olympia. So I just think it's something we should all kind of look at very, very closely.
Yeah. Well said, Frank. Yeah, I'm struggling with even suggesting going back to the room because my productivity is going to tank as soon as I start traveling between meetings. So, Greg?
Yeah, I just want to toss in my opinion. I think I advocated for this even before the pandemic hit. And, I also recognize the counterpoint that I think there was value to everyone going. So I think, at least if we reapproach the policy and everything, it's a long drive for me too, of course. And I really appreciate the ability to hop right into another meeting after this. But I think there's value to making sure that at least on a regular yearly basis, we all get together and really make an effort to all be in one place at one time. Because I've noticed that we've had sparser attendance in this year, and there's a lot of things going on, but I think that is a part of the Zoom too, so that we should.
Yeah, good point. But and sort of making sure we do the retreat setting where we have more time than a business meeting to get into our bigger vision. Good. Okay. Anything else for the good of the order? Okay. Thank you, everyone. We're adjourned. Have a good rest of your week.
See you in July.
Take care. See you in July.
Bye, everyone.